Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU, coming at you in week 9 of the regular season, week 9 of the fantasy football season. We are so excited to be with you. I'm Mr. BOUTTE. I'm here with Mr. Tom Lang. Mr. Lang, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. What a Monday Night Football game that was, huh?
Good or bad? Domination on which side of the
Yeah, I
ball?
will
On
say, I
every
will
side of the
say
ball.
until half, it was until the halftime, it was a nice game, and then it went on and was not competitive anymore.
It was a bit of a domination. Most of this past weekend were dominating games. I mean, basically, other than the New York Football Jets, basically every single game was a blowout. Every single game was a domination. By the way, we should tell everybody listening to us. So we record this always on Tuesday morning. So a lot of our first reactions are always from the Monday night game. So it's kind of what's in our mind first. But it really was a crazy slate of games this past weekend. We have a lot to get to in this. This is Tommy and I were just talking off air about this is a very, very pivotal waiver show.
Yeah,
Right, Tommy? Excited for this?
yeah. Just remember, guys, like there's 6 more weeks left in the regular season. I mean, you just completed week 8. This is a very, very vi vocal point in the fantasy football you know year. And, even if you are 0 and 8, I've seen plenty of teams make it at 6 and 8 in the playoff. If you're putting up points, but you're not getting those wins, things happen. It just is what it is. But, this is a vocal point, like I said, in the fantasy football season where you can, utilize some of those high ranked waiver picks to trade away targets for people that are weak at running back. Maximize your league setting by seeing exactly what people need and maximize your roster. You want to compile your depth now and not have to make these crazy decisions, be like, hey, do I want to start this person or this person? Just start the players that you feel really good with, and start compiling some of those trades, because you can really bolster your opportunity to capitalize on wins moving forward and get you into that playoff spot. Doesn't matter if you're 6 and 8, you can still win the championship being at the 6th seed.
Sure. One major thing that Tommy mentioned there, a couple sit rep here. So Tommy mentioned trades. So the NFL trade deadline is coming up very shortly. Not
Yep.
this week. It's coming up next week. I forget if it's Tuesday or Wednesday. It's November 9th, I believe. So you got one more week of all these trades swirling, and then there's probably going to be a gigantic jump. Right now, it feels like half of the NFL is on the trade block. It never ends up becoming that way, but
Yeah.
maybe it's becoming more and more just because of social media, et cetera, that people get excited or not excited about trades to be. And I think a lot of times fans get to a point where, if a team looks like they're losing a little bit, it's like trade everybody away, trade everybody away. So it just becomes that way on the internet. So case in point, we're probably going to be talking about a lot of players today that may or may not be affected by some of these trade rumors, which may or may not come to pass. We'll let you know if we think it's like, okay, we'll be conservative about maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll point out where that is. Also, additionally, on the topic of trades. So that's the NFL trade deadline. You might or may not be coming up on your own league's trade deadline at
Yep.
some point very shortly, depending on the league. So, for example, in Tommy and our high stakes league, the trade deadline for us is actually this week. It's before the NFL trade deadline. I know for a lot of people on ESPN and Sleeper, it's usually like a week after the NFL trade deadline. So we're right around that time where if you can
Yeah.
make a
Usually
transaction,
like week 10, 11 is where it's at. But
yeah, it's right around that time. So not to mention that we've got a lot of interesting names to talk about here. This is going to be a monumental episode. You want to jump right in, or any other thoughts before we jump in here?
yeah, we appreciate everybody that joins our show. Again, there are about 70% of our viewers that are non-subscribers. If you guys can please subscribe to our channel, we truly appreciate that. And like Billy said, we pre-record this show early Tuesday morning. But moving forward again, later this week, we'll be doing
Yes.
a Wednesday live, 8 p.m., about 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we'll be doing a
Sunday Live.
Sunday live around 11:45, 11:50, covering all those slates of games, taking your start sit questions as well too. But again, the Wednesday show is pretty much going to be talking about the Thursday game. There is no Sunday morning game. So we're just really going to go a deep dive into the Thursday game, but then also talk about trade away targets, trade for targets, really have a big bolster show and take your start sit questions live. TikTok was heavy last week, so we're going to keep going.
And for all of our lovely listeners listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, that Wednesday show will also be recorded
Yep.
and it'll be put up for everybody. And and no matter how it is that you guys work with us, we can't thank you guys enough. Thank you very much for helping to grow our community. And ready to jump right in? Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this. We had a lot to get to. So week 9 here. So bunch of teams come by apocalypse. All the teams, all the the gigantic 6 teams are coming off of bye, but we got another 4 teams going on by this week for week 9. The Browns, Jets, Eagles, and Bucks are the teams going on by, and which are pretty relevant. There's a lot of relevant players from this team. So we'll get you ready to go.
And a lot
So
of relevant trades.
we'll get to that too. All right, so at the running back position, we'll say it all the time, real quick at the top. We got a lot of teams. We got a lot of players for drop candidates that are on IR, and we have a new addition to that.
Yeah.
So Austin Eckler, James Conner, Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, and Kendre Miller. You could let them all go if they're still on your team magically for some reason. They're all on IR, and we have a new addition to that yesterday. Mr. Cam Scatterbo from the New York Giants. He broke his ankle in a horrific play. IR done for the season. And I thought Tom Brady's announcing on that was absolutely atrocious. I don't know if you agree. Yeah,
Um,
he was so blasé about it.
I mean, he's pretty much seen it all though. So yeah, he's a pros pro.
Yeah,
So
he's a pros pro, all right. The poor guy broke his ankle. I thought it was too blasé. But anyway,
well,
um,
technically dislocated ankle, but also broke,
yeah,
completely broke in half. So
it was perfect. So the fantasy implications there. So Cam Scatterbo is done for the season. We are definitely going to be talking about the Giants
the
backfield in
good thing
in
about
depth.
it though is he had a very successful surgery. So
Good.
it's already done.
Good for him. So he'll be back next year. I'm sure he'll be a huge topic of conversation
Yeah.
in the off season. So we'll talk about more about, if at the running back position we handle very specially. We're going to go through every team when we sit rep, but we'll leave the drops there. So let's just talk about some guys we want to highlight. And there's a lot of running back names we want to highlight here because there's a lot of relevant names that could get you some points for not just this game, maybe some other games going forward, and then we'll sit rep. So top on this list because the Cam Scatterbo news is Tyrone Tracy. And he's fairly widely available. He's only owned 41% in sleeper, 35%, 41% in ESPN, 35% in sleeper. So with him down, Tracy's going to be the man, right? I guess a larger question would be, it's not going to be a committee per se between him and Singletary, or has Tracy just become the guy? What do you think?
I think Tracy pretty much like last year. I don't think it's gonna be a 50-50. I think it'll probably be more of a 60-40. So it's close to 50-50, but I think Tyrone Tracy has a little bit more juice. I'd still be on the lookout to go out and get Singletary if, because he's gonna have his games here and there. Especially with that offense, and I think the offense is going to try to still get a wide receiver, especially with the injury to Scadaboo, to just get a little bit more consistency. I don't think they're hanging up their towel. They have to, obviously play the rest of the season, and there's got to be something that happens. So I do think that Tyrone Tracy is going to get the higher share of the carries and targets, but I think Singletary is also a good opportunity.
Yeah, but maybe for very deep leagues. I mean,
Yeah,
Chase is clearly going to be the big pickup this week.
yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, just for just straight up opportunity. So yeah, really nothing else to say about it. It's just the next man up there for the Giants. Let's talk about the Arizona situation. So the Arizona Cardinals, it's pretty much Bam Knight coming out of the bye.
Yeah,
If
because
people
Michael
forgot about
Carter
him
was cut.
because Michael Carter was cut. So he's available basically in all leagues. And if anybody doesn't realize, they're at Dallas this week, so it could be a great opportunity for Bam Knight. On
I'm a
top of the
bam his
fact,
way into the end zone.
Trey Benson should be coming back at some point.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just
I'd say with Michael Carter being cut. I don't know why he was cut, to be honest. I mean, he's been good, but maybe he finds his way back to the Jets because they're going to be trading Brees Hall.
we'll see. We don't know about that yet. We'll find out. We will be talking about the Jets today, but anyway, Bam Knight could be a huge Boone this week specifically, but maybe just in general for stuff going on for the rest of the season. And I don't want to ever hear the name DeMarcado again for Arizona. So let's talk about Kyle Monangai again. So he is a bit more widely in ESPN. He's at 38%, or sorry, in ESPN he's 38% sleeper 52. So we've already been talking about him for the last however many weeks. He needs to be rostered.
Yeah.
The Bears are at Cincinnati, so two backs could very well have good production numbers against the Cincinnati defense that the Jets just eviscerated. He didn't have the best game, but like even just for standalone value on top of his backup value, 100% you need to have him on your team. So Monangai is a great option there.
Yeah.
Tajay, I know he's one of your darlings. He's still fairly widely available, 36 in ESPN, 46% in sleeper. He's necessary to the offense, but Tennessee's just so bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, the past 3 weeks, Tajay Spears is the 21st ranked running back. So he is, like I said, like Billy said, we've been saying it for the past couple weeks. He is a very good fantasy running back. He is boomer busty at times, but on these bye weeks, he could be somebody that's really, really valid to throw into that RB2 spot if needed.
Certainly. They got their home against the Chargers, and then they got a bye. But I just, they're an awful team. That's like my only trepidation about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk Samaje P. Ryan. We're about to talk Cincinnati backup running back here. Completely widely available. He might be one of the. We're about to talk about guys who are much more widely available now. So like these guys might be even in your deeper leagues might be available. Samaje. So he clearly did well with the opportunity he was given. He's the clear number two. But like in the way that I see it is he's probably going to have more value in shootouts than
Mhm.
kind of wars of attrition, but probably every game that Cincinnati plays is going to be some sort of a shootout. He has some value as obviously the backup running back if Chase Brown were to go down.
I
Um,
think every game that Cincinnati is going to be in is going to be a shootout because their defense is atrocious. I got negative 10 points in one league by starting the negative 10 points. I've never seen that before. Guys,
yes.
we apologize, for
Oh,
saying start the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Even though I did have a thought that Fields was going to have a punchback game and say, a big FU game to the whole Jets organization, which he basically did.
yeah,
Um,
we have a lot to talk about with the Jets today, but I just want to mention before we just start apologizing, we identified the Bengals as a hey, you know what? If you need to, you could start them because they're playing the horrific Jets offense. We
and I
had
needed to.
and like from a category place, they were ranked like 10th or 11th for us. Like we had
Yeah.
must starts. They were not a must start for us. They were
No, no.
probably, but just for the record, it's not like we were,
Yeah,
all
no.
fires
No, of
blazing about
course.
it.
They probably gave me a negative 10 points is what
Right.
happened. And I lost a week because of that. But it's
Yes.
okay.
We'll
It's
get
1 week.
We'll get to more victory laps and more sorry laps. We'll get to more of that too today. This is gonna be a this is gonna be a good episode. All right, so let's since we talk about the Jets, let's talk about the Jets. So the
Yeah.
next name on this list, Isaiah Davis. So Isaiah Davis, who's very widely available
Which I'm
across both
so
leagues.
surprised he's still that widely available, to be
And I
honest.
think I know why, because we could keep talking about the Brees Hall news all we want, but it's just rumors. It's not like it happened yet. Here's the other thing. They're going into a bye this week. So if you need somebody to help you this week, he ain't gonna help you. But I think the potential here from Isaiah Davis is probably second on this list to Tyrone Tracy, because if Brees Hall is traded, Braylon Allen, they said, is very likely not to come back in any relevant capacity, like to maybe to like week 13, 14, something like that.
I don't know about that. I mean, I've seen on the earlier side of the 8 to 12 week range. So, technically that would be week 10, no, sorry, that would be week 11.
I don't know.
Um,
I would say at the very least, let's just imagine Brees Hall were to get traded. You're probably going to get 3 weeks of Isaiah Davis with the backfield all to himself,
Isaiah
basically.
Davis with Michael Carter.
We don't know if that's happening. Let's not
It's,
report
it's
that as news.
I'm putting it out there because the NFL does things crazily. They try to trade players that have zero relevance, so they just put them on waivers, and then somehow the Jets pick them up.
Yeah. So either way, he's definitely a very viable pickup. He should be. I agree with Tommy though. He should be on teams for
Yeah.
sure. So it's amazing that he
He
hasn't
should be
been there
picked,
yet.
and obviously this is gonna be there's gonna be league managers that see what he did what he did last week. He was more involved in the offense and the passing game, so on and so forth. Like we were discussing, like he is a pass catcher for a running back as well too. So he is probably, I mean, obviously Brees Hall as of right now is the best running back pass catcher, but he is a
Certainly.
very, very, very good pass catcher. And they will not be missing a step by giving up Brees Hall in the passing game with Isaiah
I
Davis.
I think that's a bridge too far. Brees Hall is seriously talented. Uh,
No, again, like I said, he's seriously talented, but I don't think they're going to take a step back with Isaiah Davis in the passing game aspect of it.
eh. That if you want to put it that way, that's fine. I think the way the Jets look at it, knowing everything I know about it, is, oh, hey, we don't have to pay Brees Hall. That's
That's
what
the thing.
that's what
That's
they're
the
getting
big
at.
thing. That is about 80% of the reason why they would trade him.
Yes, yeah, that's 97% of the reason why they would trade him.
Not
Uh,
99%.
no, no. All right, let's talk about Kareem Hunt again. So he had a nice game last night. He went 9 for 40 and a touchdown. He's fully regained the number 2 role. And Pacheco even had that small injury scare. I think he's going to be okay, but
Yeah,
just
he was fine. He came back in after.
keep an eye on that. But I also bring this up to say, therefore, like the whole talk about Brashad Smith the last couple weeks, like it's not going to be a thing. It's not.
Yeah,
While Hunt is there and while Pacheco is there, it's just not going to be a thing. So Hunt needs to be rostered and keep an eye on the Kansas City backfield. They're high on the list for bringing in a running back. The top 2 names on that in terms of trade rumors is Alvin Kamara and Brees Hall. Two
Alvin
very
and Alvin Kamara is not happening.
I we don't know.
He made
We
it
don't
very
know.
clear. He made it very clear. He's going to be sipping pina coladas before he's on another team.
That's true. And Nick Saban said he was never going to leave Miami and coach Alabama. Like people say things like it never ends up
Well, that would be a
going that way.
really, really waste of a trade if you get, if you're trading Alvin Kamara and he's saying, I'm not playing. And
Right.
then, yeah. So
Last name, I got one more name here for very deep leagues. It's worth it. And I really wanted to follow this backfield very closely, especially on Monday night. So Jeremy McNichols, this is for deep leagues. And I don't know if he's going to be worth taking a shot in most of your regular leagues. So he's extremely widely available. They're home against Seattle, home against Detroit. So I want to give you guys the snap counts, the usage, and the production from last night. Okay. JCM, 30 snaps. McNichols, 23 snaps. Forget Rodriguez. He had like 1 or 2. He's an irrelevant part of the offense now. Rushes. JCM went 9 for 25. McNichols went 1 for 4. Receiving. JCM, 0. 1 target and 0. McNichols, he went 5 on 6 targets with 64 yards, and that's the main sort of thing there. He's the main pass catcher, and on the rushes that he gets, he's still good with it. And we've seen
and
him; he's
and
fairly
he's
talented.
yeah, and he looks better than JCM. I mean, JCM is not that good, guys. Like I'm
I,
telling you something right now. He's not that good. The past 3 weeks is showing his true colors.
I listen.
Come on.
I'm not gonna say that.
The number 50th ranked running back right now in 3 weeks. And then we're talking about Jeremy McNichols because of the pass catching. You were talking about PPR element. That has
Sure.
so much more value at the 37th ranked running back over the 50th rank. That guy is not getting yards on the ground. He's trying, and if you look at it, it kind of reminds me of like a Kenneth Walker. Now, Kenneth Walker is a very talented running back, right? But he's boom or bust. He's negative yards or he's a 20 or 100 yard, kind of runner, right? That JCM is basically looking to do that, but 39 for 119 is not doing it, and he's not getting pass catching opportunities. I'd say something right now. I do think he's going to have a couple big games later, as the season goes on. He may be a trade for target, very, very buy low, but just don't plug him into your lineup. And that's talking about JCM right now.
Sure.
I think it's a little crazy right now that, 99.9% of the fantasy football community is on JCM. He's not doing anything. So
Because I mean, he had the one really good game on top of that one amazing preseason game, and then people become captured by that. And also, you need to remember that Washington, like, there's opportunity. So we could say anything we want. He's still the starting quote running back for Washington. He's going to get a lot of usage, and so the fantasy community, they lock on to that and they don't let go. And
his
it's
starting running back with the highest snap percentage he had was against Chicago with 66%. and he basically put up he was the number 36th running back, with 17 carries for 61 yards.
I'm not
Guys,
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with you, but it doesn't
that
mean
is
that's
not RB1.
we're not saying for you guys to start him in all scenarios. We're just saying like, like this is why we're bringing up McNichols. Like it's not like we're saying that every team should pick up McNichols either.
That's that's
Like
that's my point though. Is McNichols definitely has more value, and I don't think it as much
disagree
is
with
gonna.
disagree with that.
Oh, okay. Well, in script scenario right now, they are not the same team they were last year. They're having to pass the ball more because of the injury at the quarterback position, but then also the defense is not what they were last year. So, I think Jeremy McNichols is going to be a valid offensive weapon for this offense for the next couple games, and if not into your fantasy football playoff.
Maybe, but don't let's not overplay our hand. We can't say that, oh, therefore he's a more valuable player than JCM. There's been some games in which JCM completely underperformed. That doesn't mean that you run away from the volume. That's the point. Uh,
There's been 7 games that he's underperformed.
I got it, but there's been lots of games in there in which Jaden Daniels has not been playing. So I'm not saying you need to be very careful. We can make games where we say, hey, it wouldn't be a good idea to play JCM. It wouldn't be a good idea to play this or whatever. It doesn't mean that you're somehow playing McNichols over JCM in certain scenarios. It like depends, and you wouldn't have not to be rostering JCM. So it's just like it depends on. Let's not overplay our hand. Let's not be too hyperbolic the way we speak about it.
Okay.
All right. Well, sorry if that struck a nerve, but I'm just saying, like, we can. How about this? You and I could take a victory lap on everybody who was overly excited about him coming into the season, for sure.
Yeah, which was 99.9%. And look where that got you guys.
Yeah. We have.
Um,
Yeah.
there is
But
one more player that you skipped is Tank Bigsby.
yes, I wanted to. I skipped him on purpose so that we can
And
have.
there is another player that I want to talk about after Tank Bigsby.
Okay, Tank Bigsby. So he went nine. We need to discuss this. He went 9 for 104 in spelling Barkley. It does look like Barkley's going to be okay. Thankfully, they're going right into their bye. So maybe this is not value so much for, beyond a handcuff thing, but this is about to be high value handcuff now if he's going to be the guy. Somebody needs to be his handcuff. For a while, we thought it might be Shipley. The whole community online thought it was going to be Shipley. I thought it was Shipley, and then I was scared because he got hurt. Like we don't know. The point is now we know it's going to be Bigsby. Um, if I'm the Saquon Barkley owner, I make a hard play for him. If I am not the Saquon Barkley owner, I would be trying to get him, but like maybe just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that's basically how it is, and they're going into the buy because he ain't going to help you this thing. My question to you is if you're the Saquon owner, like we are in the high stakes league, how do you not spend, basically 2/3 to 3/4 of your remaining fab to go get him and just make sure you have him?
I think it's I think it's very valuable.
You have to.
Especially I feel like you have to, especially with some of the plays especially behind that offensive line, he
Yes.
does look really good.
And he did
It's
look good.
Yeah, he looks really good running the ball, and that's why you're like, all right. And I've been kind of saying it for the past couple weeks. Like he's definitely somebody you need to look out for, and you should kind of plug him into your roster and your bench just in case something does happen in that backfield.
Right, but again, we had no way of knowing anything about what they were doing in that backfield. I mean, for a long time, if you were
But
to,
they made the trade. They made the trade not for him to be a special teams returner.
we didn't
They
know
they
that.
no, but they said that. But again, when they trade away for a running back early in the season, they just especially when Shipley was down, it kind of paints the picture. That's the direction they were going. And
Well,
then they needed to see if he was going to be active and proactive in the offense, which he's flustering, when he's in there.
that's true, but before today, not just on depth charts where it was like AJ Dillon slash Shipley, like the other backs that they had usually you could tell like who's the guy spelling. Like you could have some guy with like, oh, he's got like 11 snaps today. Anybody who had like 8 to 11 snaps, it was always Dillon or something. It was never him. So
It's because he was getting integrated into the offense. It takes time, and
for
they
9 weeks,
yeah, but they had no rush to do it.
right. This is an irrelevant argument. The point is it's not like nobody knew about the situation. We know now. So go make your moves now as needed for him. So if let me put it this way to everybody who's listening. If I'm the Saquon Barkley owner, to me, Tank Bigsby is basically right after Tyrone Tracy in the acquisition department here. For sure. You said you had another name you wanted to highlight here.
Yeah, Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon, I know we were talking about this off air a little bit
Sure.
on Sunday. Uh, but he is getting more snaps. He went from basically being the 20s of
Yep.
snap percentage now in the 30s of snap percentage. He did get that touchdown. Sorry, he didn't get a he yeah, he did get that reception touchdown this past week against Atlanta. Now, they blew out Atlanta, which was very surprising, in Atlanta, where Atlanta's defense is always really good, usually, um, which was very, again,
We don't know
surprising.
anything about Atlanta. Nothing.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
nothing. Atlanta means nothing anymore to
Are they
us.
good? Are they bad? We don't know. Is their
We don't
defense
know.
good? Are they bad? We don't know.
Do they have Bijan Robinson? Yes, they do.
Yes, we know
That's
that.
that's about it.
Yeah,
But getting going from five touches, basically 7 touches the previous week to 11 touches this week. His touches are increasing with the volume of basically being in that snap percentage. Now, Achane is obviously still being highly productive. He's still getting touchdowns every single week. He's being productive that way. But I do think that there's an integration of maybe conserving an Achan player because he is obviously injury prone player. He's proven to be injury prone every single year pretty much. So maybe they want to consolidate some of the snaps, especially where they are in the season. Maybe see exactly what Ollie Gordon brings to the table. Again, that offense when it was about 2-3 years ago with Mostert and Achan, they did spell off of each other and it was very productive. It shows you basically that 30% snap share, Ollie Gordon, given the opportunity, could basically be productive. So I think
sure.
he should be somebody that, you should be on the lookout. They do have the Thursday night game against the Baltimore Ravens, which again could be a nice little game to potentially, play him if you need to. Um, and we'll talk about that on the Wednesday show. But I think basically he could be a nice little add to your roster.
I don't disagree with you. If you're the HN owner, I don't know how
You
you don't
have to
have him
have him.
on that team. It's you're playing. First of all, you're playing with fire with HN anyway. I mean, he's HN's making us eat a little bit of crow because we thought he'd be a little bit more injury prone to start the season, but he's been unbelievable. But that doesn't mean it can't happen at some point this season, at least for a game or two. So if you're the HN owner, you definitely better have him for
Yep.
sure, for sure. Um, let's sit rep the whole league here real quick. Let's blitz right through this. This is a couple of the little points I want to bring to your attention. So Arizona, we talked about. Go get yourself Bam Knight. In lieu of Benson coming back, definitely at least for this week against Dallas. Atlanta, we know the deal. Bijan and Algier. Baltimore, we know the deal. Henry and Hill. Buffalo, we keep talking about this all the time. This past Sunday, to Tommy's chagrin. Okay, James Cook, 28 snaps. Ty Johnson, 20. Davis had zero snaps. You still think it's Ray Davis?
Again, I think it's scenario,
You're gonna
right?
hold on to this the
I'm
whole
gonna
year?
hold on to it. They're holding on to Ray Davis. They're holding on to Ray Davis for when is needed, and they didn't need him this week.
I've fully moved to guys that if you're a James Cook owner, you don't need to own any of the cuffs because
Exactly.
if you do, it's going to be 50-50 in
If you're a
some way.
James Cook owner, go spend all your fab and go get your
Tyrone
Tyrone
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah. Carolina, Chuba and Dowdle, which is now going to be a 50-50 to the misery of every Chuba owner and the misery of every Rico owner. Chicago, we know the deal, Swift and Monungai. Cincinnati, now, Chase Brown, obviously, but P. Ryan, he has some standalone value himself. You guys could judge whether or not your team wants to support that. Once we get through this little sit rep, I have one funny question to ask you about running backs, which we'll get to. Um, Cleveland, Judkins is the only guy worth rostering. It's a full committee if he goes down, and Cleveland Browns are bad. Dallas Cowboys, Javante and Jaden Blue is the handcuff. Denver, Dobbins and I always say Ryan Harvey. It's RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey, who had an amazing game. I
Yeah,
would
he
say to
did.
people like don't overly chase it.
No, don't overly chase it. I mean, it's not going to happen again like it did last week. He had 3 touchdowns. That when you have that many touchdowns and you're just really chasing touchdowns, that doesn't happen every single week. And against that was also against the Dallas defense. They were they were crushing Dallas. And
Right.
so they got Houston, they got Vegas and Kansas City in there. There are by Houston's defense look they held Chris McCaffrey to basically RB4 numbers last week. So be a little weary about that offense. I mean, who knows? I mean, any given Sunday, but again, that's a tough one right there.
Yeah, and Dobbins has been great himself, so that's
Yeah.
why I'm not
He's
overreacting
getting
to it.
he's getting the touches, he's getting the percentage higher than Harvey. So I just
Yeah.
don't, they were ahead.
Detroit, Gibbs and Montgomery, obviously. Green Bay, Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson is the handcuff. But again, it's the obligatory, ridiculous Marshawn Lloyd mentioned. Hey, when he comes back, he was quote unquote supposed to be the next guy. So keep an eye on it. But for now, it's just Jacobs and Wilson. Moving on. Houston. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. So Chubb and Marks is explosive, but from a usage perspective, it's going to be 50-50 to the end of the year, with Marks being more explosive.
Hmm.
So you guys can judge that what you will. And I have a bit of a surprise here for you, Tommy, regarding the Houston backfield, and for all of our lovely listeners. So I would like everybody to feel free to go check out. It's on our YouTube page, our live stream that we had of when Tommy and I had our high stakes league. Okay, so I'm going to timestamp for you guys and quote a bunch of things that Tommy and I said during that live stream. So let's catch everybody up. Okay,
Wow.
at 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 11 seconds, leading into our eighth round pick, Tommy says to me, or do you want to take a shot on Joe Mixon? And I said, no, Tommy, I see only two picks, Matt Golden or Bo Nix. Between the eighth and the ninth pick, after we made our Matt Golden pick, Tommy says at 108-12, Tommy says, I need to say this. If we go into the next round, and Joe Mixon is still available, I need to press you on taking Joe Mixon. There's no reason with a player that will most likely be back fresh, and we don't need him to start at all until week 9. I said, but Tommy, I have no faith that he's going to be okay. I think it's not going to be good. And even if he comes back, it won't be good. It sounds bad. The vibes are bad. I don't want to take that. I really don't want to take it. At 112-26, this is it at the ninth round pick. Tommy says, I do think we need to take Mixon. We don't need a back till week 9. I say, can we wait on him? Tommy says, no, we can't. I say, for the record, Bo Nix is falling. Tommy says, I think we need to take Mixon. Let's put it this way. We need a running back right now. We have Dobbins available. I don't see value there for the future. We have Ramondre available. I don't see value there for the future. Joe Mixon is value. I say, Tommy, I don't think we could take him here. Tommy says, Joe Mixon is going to score touchdowns. I say, I can't believe I'm allowing this. Tommy says, let's feel good about this. Let's move forward. But I think Joe Mixon is a fantastic pick. I said, take him. This is a combination show, but I don't like it. Tommy says, so yes, we took Joe Mixon in the ninth round. Billy isn't too happy about that. I said, no, I'm not. Between the ninth and the 10th round at 1:15:25, Tommy says, Charles says this is a table flipping moment, but nothing guaranteed in the ninth round. It's a good shot. I say, I don't even know if he's going to play. It's just hearing everything that I'm hearing. I followed it pretty closely. Tommy says it's going to be fine, even if we have to wait on him till week 7. Skip to the 10th round at 1:21:17. Tommy says Bo Nix is off the board. I say, well, we were so fast to draft Joe Mixon, but there goes Bo Nix. This is such a regret. I can't believe I let this happen. Tommy says, I can't believe I let Jalen Waddle happen. Do we take Dak here and move on? I say, yeah, let's take Dak. It should have been Nix. Tommy says, you can be all upset, but by the
All
end
right,
of the
enough.
season, you're going to be thanking me. And then I say, the last thing, it is what it is. We could have gotten both Nix and Prescott, and I genuinely feel differently about Mixon. So my victory lap is done.
Yeah, and those wires on the left side of your screen look good too.
Was it a
Good.
good pick or not?
No, it's not a good pick. That was very lengthy, and congratulations on backtracking 9 or 10 weeks. Congratulations, everybody.
I wanted that
I'm
considering
sorry.
how,
I'm sorry that everybody had to relive the conversation that happened 10 weeks ago.
yeah,
Let's move on. Joe
we are moving
Mixon
on.
out, remains without update and status. Okay.
Yes, yes, it is. And then now it's week 9. I waited all the way to week 9. Anyway, moving on. Oh, that felt so good. All right, next team,
Good. I'm
Indianapolis.
glad.
Indianapolis, we know the deal. Jonathan Taylor, but I do want to talk about the Giddens thing. So Giddens was inactive. So we've been thinking that it's DJ Giddens, and if you like go online and everywhere we look, depth charts, etc., everybody thinks it's going to be Giddens. And considering that the other options, it's like Amir Abdullah, who's 32. I still think it's going to be Giddens, but maybe just keep an eye on that. If I'm the Taylor owner, I still have Giddens, but I just keep an eye on that going forward. Yeah, I don't know if Goodson is going to be involved in some way. Let's hope for yourselves that Taylor doesn't get hurt. And I'm sorry, everybody, that I'm putting that out into the ether. I just thought I would mention that. Jacksonville, ETN, and Tootin, Pacheco, Kansas City. We talked about Pacheco and Hunt. Vegas, Junty is the guy you don't need to roster anybody else. The Chargers, Hampton's going to come back eventually. In the interim, Vidal's going to be good. We'll see if the Chargers bring in some kind of a back in the interim. The Rams, Kyron and Corum, Miami, like we talked about, Achan and Gordon. I agree, Tommy, wholeheartedly with the Ollie Gordon stuff. Minnesota, Jones and Mason. Although at this point, like Mason has just not been good. So hope maybe they really need Jones to be back and performing at a higher level. New England, Stevenson and Henderson, they're going to be 50-50, quote unquote, for the end of the year. Stevenson's probably going to be the guy unless Henderson has some amazing game in some way. New Orleans. So with Kendra Miller going down, so Kamara's the guy. Devin Neal is the backup. I'm not interested really in rostering because it's the Saints, and even Kamara himself is not playing well. But I got it. If you're the Kamara owner, maybe you really want it. Kamara might end up being traded, so that's another thing we could talk about.
He's
Kamara,
not being traded.
okay. Again, it's things that he says. But
No,
you're
he's a player, and you can't force a player to play. So,
can't you?
yeah, and he could just basically say, I'm done. Oh, I just sprained my ankle. I can't
Yes.
play anymore.
Uh,
Congratulations for trading. Congratulations for trading the Saints a first round and a second round for me. I'm done. I'm gonna go
the,
sip my pina coladas.
the New York Giants, we talked about Tyrone Tracy, of course, and Singletary. Are you interested in picking him up at all, depending on league or?
It depends on the league. I do think again he does have some value. We saw it last year when Tyrone Tracy was in there. Again, it was maybe about 20 or 30% of the snap share last year. I think this year it's more of an uptick because he's involved this year. No matter what, they did have a three-headed at times. Not meaning like it was a high value and high percentage three-headed, but again three-headed prior to the Scadaboo injury now makes it a double, two-headed, running back room, and he's gonna see more of an uptick in snap percentage. I think they're all gonna see it. Now, who's gonna make do with it? Now, I mean, again, Singletary had that catch down the field. It was like a 30-yard catch. So he did show his catchability, in the passing game. So. Um, I think there's value. If you want to take a shot, again, you don't have to pay a lot of fab for him. But I do think that it's going to be a nice opportunity for both to be looked at.
Yep. The New York Jets we talked about, the Philadelphia Eagles we talked about, Pittsburgh, Warren and Gainwell, San Francisco, McCaffrey and Robinson, Walker, Seattle, Walker and Charbonnet. Whether or not you think Charbonnet is the starting quote running back, whether you think it's Walker, they both should be rostered and they're both going to be plays going forward. Although they're at Washington this coming week, we'll see when we get to the preview show for that. Tampa Bay. So they're going into their bye now, and that's the end of Rashad White is the lead back. They really need Bucky back, and he'll be back after the bye. So back to being Bucky and Rashad White is the handcuff. Tennessee, Pollard and Spears, they're on an awful team, but they both have some value. They'll get you 6 to 11 points. Maybe Spears has a bit more explosiveness. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
keep
I'm
an eye on
I'm
that.
I'm more on the Spears train than Pollard at this point.
And we talked about Washington. Yeah, I actually should give Tommy a little credit like about this. So yeah, we're not saying don't roster JCM, but right now it's very difficult to start him. Very difficult. So maybe if
Yeah, if I was a JCM owner, like I said earlier, I'd try to trade him away as much as I could. Or if I wasn't the JCM owner, I could probably try to buy him and just let him sit on my bench if I had that room. And then when he does have the opportunity, starts going off, like kind of like you waited on your Chase Brown, um, it could happen. So you could buy low on him, and then it could be an opportunity, or you could trade him away for something because you just don't want want to play him anymore.
Certainly. There we go.
Um,
So that's the slate of all the running backs across the league. Hopefully we gave you guys we spent a lot of time on running backs, so
yeah,
they're
there is
most
one more.
important.
There's one more running back that I do think
Oh,
that
have we
could.
missed somebody?
Yeah, we did miss somebody.
Oh,
Joe
who?
Mixon should be back. I'm joking.
You were a good sport about it. I just
Yeah, I mean
I had to.
that was a little angry right there, but it's okay. I'll save something for the future.
That's perfectly fine. Considering how our bets were going preseason, I think we're both losing to each other. Like how the bets.
Oh yeah,
So we'll both be taking some ice baths. But honestly, Tommy, you and I have a bunch of victory laps to take, and we have yet to talk about them. So now we can feel good about ourselves. Did you want to mention another thing about running backs before we move on?
yeah, Joe Mixon.
Oh,
No,
all
I'm
right.
just
You've been
kidding.
all right. Let's jump into wide receivers, or AKA we could talk. Hey, it's time to drop a lot of people. We're gonna we'll talk about right now. So wide receivers. So just again the IR guys, Malik Neighbors, Tyreek Hill, and Mike Evans. If they're still on your team, let them go. All right. For guys that are still actually playing, let's talk about guys you let go. And every one of these guys is widely owned, so you could just let them go. Top on the list, Judge Judy. It's done. He's going into the bye. He's 70, 80% owned in various leagues. He has not had a top 24 finish all
Well,
season.
one thing I'm a little hesitant about just straight up dropping him is that he could be a trade away, in the NFL. He could be somebody that's traded to another
That's
team because
true.
I
Yeah,
will say
we're
this.
gonna say that sentence a lot with a lot of yeah,
Well,
you're
no,
right.
no, no. And I mean, whenever I say that, I'm articulating my reasons why, and
You're right.
it's because that offense is more stipulated about passing to the tight ends. Now, if Njoku gets traded, which I don't think that's going to happen nearly as much because of how the system is. But he that quarterback room passes to the tight end more frequently than they do down the field.
Yes.
And I think, having Bond out there is an option, and it's not like they need to have Judy on that field to be relevant offensively. So I think they could get some nice piece for him. He could go to a team that needs a wide receiver. Now, again, he is a very good wide receiver, but again, you're buying low on him in the NFL right now. So I think he could be a vocal point to an offense. Maybe one of those like trades to team A or team B that needs a wide receiver that missed Malik Neighbors down and so on and so forth.
We're gonna be saying wide receivers to the Giants for like everybody we can talk about.
I will say though, not to bury a conversation on the New York Giants, but they are, like I said, they are a team that is not hanging it up. They can't hang it up because the coaching staff can't hang it up. They
And they
don't
need to
have
develop Dart.
Yeah, and they don't have a next year if they don't show performance and they don't show consistency and they don't show wins, right? So I just think that they need to make a move, and I think the GM that back office is going to try and help the situation more than hurt the situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't disagree with you. Although I would just say, just in general, as a rule, it's especially on the teams that we have, that we're like always worrying about our bench spots and making things work for us. It's getting annoying to just keep people for the sense of, oh, he might get traded, or you know what I mean? Or, oh, there might be a trade consideration here
Yeah,
in
but
some way. You know what I'm saying? It's like
there's
annoying.
times though you're like, what else am I going to put in that position over that player?
Uh,
He has upside, he has possibility. Would you do that rather, with a player like
well, I got news for you. Two of these names down here in the general options, 100% I'd rather have than Judge Judy.
okay.
So, and we should take some victory.
I might agree with you on one or two of them, but
Yeah.
again, it's just such great capital to have, and I'm just not sure if I'm willing to move on from him yet. Maybe after this bye week, just to see what happens. But
Maybe if you're holding off for the trade
yeah,
rumors. Okay. Uh, next name on the drop list, Keon Coleman, 68% and 68%. He has not had a good game since week one. It's clear that the main wide receiver is Shakir, and even that is like how valuable is that is kind of up for debate. But Keon Coleman is clearly lower on the pecking order. Let him go. That's it. And the Bills might even bring in a wide receiver. So Let him go. Not worth it.
Hmm.
Darnell Mooney, you want to talk about guys I don't like? He's so to the fantasy community, I think overrates him completely. He's well owned, and I got it. People went all in a game where Captain Kirk was playing, and we know Captain Kirk likes Darnell Mooney, where Drake London was out against the Miami defense.
He
He could
can't be
only go,
called Captain Kirk anymore, by the way.
yeah, he could only go 1 for 11. He's been underwhelming the whole year, and he's injury prone. Let him go. Like I don't know how anybody keeps him going after this.
Yeah,
So
no, he's got to go. He's gone. It's just yeah, move on
yeah,
from him. He's gonna have some good games, but he's not a valid streamer at all. Do not play him anymore.
so next name on the list, Hollywood Brown, still widely owned. Like he had a big fat zero even after a bad game the week before. With Rashee Rice back, his need and relevance, it's not needed anymore.
Yeah,
And he's
Rasheed Rice
past
back. You got
Worthy
yeah,
streaking down the field.
Worthy. You got pass catchers in the backfield.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
move on.
So Kendrick Bourne, we talked about him last week. This is my little victory lap. I knew it wasn't going to be a good game, and it wasn't. And now
He was not
Pearsall,
reborn.
no,
Kendrick
no,
Bourne was not reborn.
no. The last 2 weeks, 214 and 344. It's the end of the movie deal. They didn't renew it. There's no there's no more scripts for another trilogy or anything like that. So
Yeah, no.
you let him
They didn't
go.
have the they didn't have the budget for it this year.
Pearsall should be back this week, but even if he isn't, it's just now with Kittle back and Purdy, it's just not the connection's gone. And now we could talk about, Matt Golden here. So I think this only applies to I think this all applies basically to regular leagues. Deep leagues, I think you have to keep him.
I got a
But
question though, in that sentiment about, Joe Mixon. We did take Matt Golden ahead of Joe Mixon by a round or two because that was the player that you needed on the roster.
we did, and I'm happy that we took the shot, but we're not
I'm
drop.
happy we took the shot on Joe Mixon.
All right. It's the let me sing your praises. How about this? Let's start with that. So
Our
it's
eighth and ninth round was irrelevant, basically, in fantasy
no,
football
I
drafts.
wouldn't say that. Golden has had one or two decent games. Here's the deal
Could have had
with
a fantastic game against the Cowboys, but again, he stepped out of bounds.
So here's the deal with Golden. So first of all, he's 77% in ESPN, 73% in Sleeper, so he's very widely owned. It's been bad. He's the wide receiver 63 all year, and now with
Yep.
Watson back, the crapshoot of targets for Love is only increased with him. We got Reed coming back at some point in the next 4 or 5 weeks or whatever. I think in very deep leagues, you keep him for the potential because here's the deal that at least I want to feel better about. He's doing good on the targets that he gets. And the potential for a re-injury on Watson is very, very high. The potential for a trade on Dobbs is still very high. But I do think in regular leagues, regular 12-man, five bench leagues, I do think you should let him go.
Yeah.
Deep leagues, though, I see the potential there because he is good on the targets he gets. He really is. And I think just part of the problem, Tommy, is like there's just so many options in Green Bay. Love just loves Kraft so much that he's just swallowing up so much of it. So I don't want to imbue any issues on the
Well,
guy
you
on the
don't think
guy
that was
himself.
just based on National Tight End Weekend? There was a lot of relevance with tight ends being, catching touchdowns and being relevant.
I think that whole thing is overplayed. That stupid narrative.
I think it's script. I think it's game script at times. I mean, why
Maybe.
why don't you see that every single weekend, right? Like why don't you see like these tight ends overperforming every single weekend?
Yeah, no, but back to not to bury the lead. So yeah, like I'm happy to say that you could go ahead and drop him in most leagues, but I will still defend the idea that it was an option that where that could have worked out, especially with Reed and Watson being out for the first part of the year. We didn't realize that it would be just a complete, Jacobson Kraft swallowing things up type of year. Just it
Yeah.
is what it is. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. So there we go. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about other drop candidates as we go forward. But let's talk about guys you could get up. Let's just talk about one guy I'm probably owned. People forgot about him. So Ricky Pearsall, he should be back this week. 70 to 76%, 70 to 76% owned. Normally we really don't talk about guys 75 or 80 and over. Just wanted to mention he should finally suit up. And now Purdy is the quarterback again, and they need him.
Hopefully.
And so they're at the New York Giants, and it's not going to be an easy game for the 49ers. The way that the line looks, it's going to be very, very competitive. So they need all hands on deck to beat the Giants, who are playing like Tommy mentioned, playing competitive despite their bad record, etc. But let's go to the general options here because now Tommy and me both get to take some victory laps that we are so excited about. I'll take mine first. Troy Franklin, 40 and 30% owned. He had his breakout game. And I want to point out, this is not one of these things where it's like, oh, some guy caught two passes for, 90 yards and two touchdowns. Any wide receiver could do that, some random thing, and we never bring them up. The point is, we've been talking about his volume. You chase the volume, you chase his
Hmm.
snap percentage, you chase his targets. Tommy says it all the time. Targets are king. Get over it. Targets are king. And it turned into it. His usage turned into the production, and we're so excited about it. And now, like, he's wide receivers, it's going to be some level of inconsistency. But yeah, they got a tough week this week at Houston. Then they're home against Vegas, and then they're home against Kansas City, where they're going to have to put up points to win all these games. I'm very excited about Troy Franklin now and going forward. I don't see how you know I don't see how he's not the number one pickup. Now, I guess we could debate about the number two guy. So the number two guy, Tommy, gets to take his victory lap here. So Kayshon Boutte. Yeah.
So Kayshon Boutte, basically, he's the number two wide receiver in the past 3 weeks, behind Jamar Chase. But again, we talk about targets, like Billy was just talking about heavy targets with Franklin. Troy Franklin actually has 10 more targets than Kayshon Boutte. Kayshon Boutte only has 12 targets in the past 3 weeks, but he's catching his balls at 10 receptions, 223 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, you would think don't chase touchdowns because touchdowns don't happen week in, week out, but this guy is doing it now. So I think that this is a very, very, very consistent player. Now, let's just say this, right? Again, 4 targets, 4 to 5 targets a week is not going to say that's heavy targets. I mean, that's not, if you're the number two, that's not crazy. But again, if you're being productive with your targets and you're catching the balls that are going in your direction and you have a consistent quarterback play, that's somebody I want to target right now. Again, this is going against the target conversation, but this is now on a low target, high production conversation. Go get Mr. Booty, chase that booty, go get him, plug him in your lineup.
I couldn't agree more. You're so right on him, and he's really emerged as like
I've been chasing that booty all season.
yeah, you're so right about it. So I mean, I mean, basically 50-50. Who would you rather have on your team now, Troy Franklin or Kayshon Boutte?
I like Kayshon Boutte, but
That's fine.
honestly, I will say Troy Franklin. It is the Oregon experience, right? The
Oh,
Oregon
there it is, the
connection.
Oregon narrative.
So it's a narrative, but it's true. They both played on Oregon together. So Bo Nix and Troy Franklin played together at Oregon. So it's a reunion, and it could turn into something very, very valuable as the season continues.
Um, yeah, I was just saying earlier too with roster percentages. So Franklin is 43% in ESPN, 33 on Sleeper. Boutte is 30% on ESPN, 53% in Sleeper. So,
Hmm.
it's weird sometimes how the percentages are. So maybe one's available, maybe both are available, maybe none are available, but I would be trying hard to get at least one of them on my team for sure. Um, so let's talk about a couple lower names here. So Chimera DK of the Tennessee Titans. So very widely available. He is
I
the
yeah
no. Uh, all right, let
I
me.
yeah go ahead.
I was just gonna say he's the wide receiver 10 the last 2 weeks with a lot of targets. I would just say you can't ignore it if it happens 3 games in a row. But like I think about any
Well,
guy that we talk about, remember it's the Titans, so I temper my expectations. Yeah, do you agree with that or
I agree with it to an extent. Now, yeah, we were talking about the other guy over there.
Elikayo Manor?
Yeah, we were talking about Iron Manor 3 weeks ago, right?
Sure.
All right. So if you look at the consistency ratio, he pretty much hyper targets one guy or values one guy. Now, the next three
This is
weeks
a
is
good point.
going to be another wide receiver, right? After this 3 weeks is over, he's a value play in fantasy football. And now you plug him into your flex position because you think that he's going to have 7, 8 targets for, a touchdown and 70 yards. Well, what happens is it goes back to Iron Manor, right? So
This
I
is
don't know
fair.
if I want to play with fire there. It is a bad team. They haven't figured themselves out. I think it's somebody that I probably want to stay away and not chase the clout of what's happening there. Just pump the brakes there. If you could get him for cheap or basically get him for nothing,
Which
yeah,
you will
maybe
be.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe throw him in as your wide receiver 5 or so. But again, he's probably gonna find the waiver wire the following week because he's not going to produce this upcoming week.
Maybe. But I agree with I agree with your sentiments. It's difficult investing in a Titans player right now.
Remember the Titans. You will remember it this year.
Yeah, you'll remember the dud on your week if he contributes to it. Although
Yeah, the
I also
garbage
just
bag over your head.
as like a stupid irrelevant thing for fantasy. He has like one of the coolest names in the NFL, so we'll give him
I
points for
pronounce
that.
it a different way, but that's not for
Yes.
the show.
Well, I'm mostly talking about his first name, but okay, we could go that route if you'd like. But let's talk about maybe a more relevant name for your team. So Christian Watson, I mean we mentioned him when we talked about Golden, so he's widely available. And immediately right off his injury, he caught all four of his targets for 85 yards on the
And he
first
was
on
in
the first game back.
and he was in with the starters. He was in with the starters.
That's right.
And I will say this. The Packers don't have a wide receiver one, but he is the closest thing to a wide receiver one. He is the closest thing to a wide receiver one for this offense.
I guess.
You just got to stay healthy.
But they say this narrative, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They don't use their wide receivers as a wide receiver one. They spread it around other than Kraft. Like that's
No,
what
wide
they
receiver
do.
one can be a 5 to 6 target pass catcher, right? Catching 80, 90% of your balls. So
I guess.
that's a wide receiver one for me. And if you're a red zone target within the 20s, inside the 20, which atypically the past couple of years he has been, that is a wide receiver one, somebody that want to look at. Now he's not going to put up wide receiver one numbers every single week. He'll see probably like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, but I will say on the latter, you'll see a higher percentage of top 12, top 15 finishes for him when healthy.
Right. That's another thing too. He is injury prone, so buyer beware, but it's you can't ignore what he did immediately. It's I'll say this, we're probably going to be annoyed every single time that we have a preview show and we talk about the Packers, just trying to identify, hey, what wide receiver can you throw in there this week? It's like, like we might aggravate us the whole year, but uh
Well, again, remember he tore his ACL, right? But that was week 18 last year, and the recurring injuries that happen after that usually are a little bit higher than not, right? So he could come up with an hamstring injury the next couple weeks if he's overly forced into a role, So be a little weary about that. But again, the numbers won't lie. And also the team wants him to be more acclimated into that offense because they don't really have that consistent wide receiver play. Um, you know, you could have Mr. Big Helmet Romeo Dobbs, or I'd feel better with Kristen Watson.
sure. Yeah, and keep an eye on if Dobbs is traded. It's still, hovering around. So keep an eye on
Now, if
that.
he gets traded, I'm more on the Christian Watson train.
Sure. And I'll feel better about Golden too. But
Well, then
we've said
you
that
won't
we've
feel
said
better about him anymore because he'll be off your roster apparently.
not on deep leagues, but in most other leagues. All right. Any other names off the top of your head, or do you want to jump into tight ends here?
That's pretty much all my guys outside of maybe just, in a deep league, you want to look at Calvin Austin. I think, him being back healthy.
That's fair.
Um, I will say again, they are looking for a wide receiver 2 on that offense, and they are kind of implementing some other players, but I think Calvin Austin could have a nice, if he was the third wide receiver on that offense and they do go out and get a guy, he could have I think he has more of an uptick in opportunity based on playing that slot. And Aaron Rodgers does like releasing the ball quick this year, and Calvin Austin is a quick, speedy guy. So I could think that he could have some more uptick if staying healthy in fantasy production.
There's also a few names that I could have brought up that I purposely didn't because you and I both don't just chase points with the sake of chasing points. So,
No.
for example, just like top on that list, Tyler Johnson of the Jets, no. It, like here, short answer, no. Long answer, no. Okay, like
Yeah.
just it's not gonna happen. Plus, they're going on bye, and Garrett Wilson will be back after the bye. Just it's not worth it. There's other guys we could bring up, like kind of for similar reasons that you don't just chase points for the sake of chasing points. There
Hmm.
has to be a reason for it. So let's go on to tight ends. We got some drop candidates, some familiar faces here. So TJ Hawkinson is the top of this list. Okay. He is by one of the highest owned tight ends in the whole league.
Yeah, this he's a massive disappointment this
We'll
year.
talk about it. Since week 4, he's the tight end 27. Let him go. Let him go.
I will say I'm very happy I did not draft him as a value draft
Quote.
play.
Yeah.
Because you know, when you feel in your gut like things are not really going to be good, and you in the same category you had Tyler Warren to really just draft. I mean,
Right.
you know, you go on the, you know, more secure
You're
ballot
usually
option.
good. You're usually good at gut feeling is not the right way to say it. You're usually good about identifying, let's call it tight ends, like on the, like where you could get value out of them. And
Ooh, yeah,
and
I know.
you know, thankfully that's not one that we hung our hat on because they just was just we knew it maybe it wasn't going to work out and it hasn't been. It just hasn't. It's not good. He's not the same player that he used to be.
No, no.
It's not the way that it was.
Speaking about making good, you know, judgment calls, Mr. Jake Ferguson is no longer the wide receiver, the tight end one. He is now the ninth tight end. So, you know,
After a zero. Yeah,
yeah,
well, yeah,
y'all
but
should have traded him when he was the tight end one.
yes, although I still think he's going to be fine with targets going forward. People are
Okay.
overreacting to that a little bit. Another drop candidate, and he's not a drop candidate, by the way, in case
No,
just
no,
I
no,
know you
no,
brought him
no.
up here. All right, who is a drop candidate is Mark Andrews, still 70-80% owned in various leagues. Okay, here's Mark Andrews. He's even worse than Hawkinson. Since week 4, he's the tight end 32, on top of the trade rumors, on top of Likely's presence, and Charlie Kolar catching touchdowns from Snoop Huntley. Let him go. It's not going to work out. I don't actually. I was thinking about it. I don't know where he could go that would make me feel excited about his value. Uh, so
I don't
it
know.
may he's been linked to the
I don't know. I
Buccaneers,
mean,
but
maybe people are still holding on to him because of the trade rumors and stuff like that. So, I mean,
yeah,
there's a possibility. But again, holding on to a onesie position, having multiple players in that position, unless it's a bye week and you need to basically, you know, you had McBride and he was on bye and, you know, stuff like that. You know, McBride and Andrews do not hold the same value. So, you know, I
no.
would let him go 100%.
Yeah, really no other. I didn't want to bring up any other names that are widely owned for drop because those were the two major ones. But I just wanted to say, just on behalf of both of us, if for anybody even still trying with Taysom Hill, let him go. We're done. We're done with it. It's like it's done. I don't care.
Though it will be the week that basically we, you know,
Bas
let him go and he basically puts up 56 points.
He's gonna have, I guarantee it, Tommy, there will be a week this year where he has like 20, 30, 40 points.
Yeah, I want
But
nothing to do with it.
and then he won't have it again.
Yeah.
I don't want him on my team. I'm not messing around with it anymore. It's done. Let him
Yeah.
go.
I reaped the
Uh
benefit last year of starting him. And it was
Coincidentally,
just, yeah,
right on that list.
coincidentally, it was a flex plan. I was like, you know what? I have nobody else. You know, I need upside. I want to play
Eh.
him. And upside turned into 50 whatever points.
And that's the scenario in which you play him where it's like, like if your other options are like, eh, you know, Dalton Schultz and a thing, like that kind of thing,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I agree with that.
You don't get a lot of decisions in fantasy football.
Let's get to probably owned, which is where a lot of tight ends live these days. So maybe one of these guys is available in your league. So Aronde Gadsden, who's the last 2 weeks is the tight end number one. And now they're playing the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
So go get Aronde
Yeah,
Gadsden.
I think he's a great pickup. I do, and again, he looks like a wide receiver, elusive wide receiver as a tight end, and that's great. I will say this though, I think that offense does flow with targets going here, going there. There's a lot of mouths to feed. Right now, you know, Herbert does feel really good about throwing the ball to him because he's catching the ball, and you know, he felt really good about Quinston Johnson early in the season. That kind of faded. I think that there are two primary guys still, even though I do think Keenan Allen has taken a step back slightly. But I think Gadsden, you're basically going to start seeing teams kind of figuring out how to guard this guy, and it's going to fade slightly. I think he's a valid
Maybe.
top 12 or top 10 tight end for rest of season, but he's going to have his outside the box, outside the top 10 weeks. And he may be a streamer option for me moving forward.
He's not going to have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns every game,
No,
but he is super talented, and he definitely should be on teams for sure.
yeah.
Like he's
After this week against Tennessee, I think that's where it's going to start slightly fading, and you're not going to really. He's not really just a sit guy like McBride's been productive, and like a Tyler Warren, so on and so forth.
other probably owned. So Harold Fannin. So again, this is again from the basically from weeks and weeks ago. This is another gigantic Tommy victory lap on here. And what's interesting about Fannin is he keeps performing even with Njoku there. So it's funny in one of my leagues, I had Fannin in, and then I saw the news that Njoku was going to be actually going to be playing in the game,
And
and
you made a mistake.
and I just dropped him because I'm like, well, Njoku's back and there's a bye next week. I'm like, you know what? The upside is capped. It's not worth it. And I made a mistake. It was a bad move. And now
Yeah.
he's going into the bye, and I have to debate about if I'm gonna how hard I'm gonna go to try to get him again.
Well, you got to
Um,
remember again, like we said earlier, if you're watching the Browns games, which it's sometimes difficult to watch, but again, if you're watching the Browns games, the quarterback play does hyper target the tight end, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me who's there. I'm probably going to roster both those guys, and they're both really valid options, even on weeks where you have a tight end, say you have a McBride, or you have a Tyler Warren, or you have a Jake Ferguson. You're like, I want to maybe have a little bit more upside in targets. He could be a solid flex play.
yeah. Um, Next, we got Kyle Pitts. Clearly, he looks like he's leveled up this year, and to be expected because he's going to a contract year. Yeah, congratulations. He's the clear number two target after London, and obviously he was even better when London was out. So he's very close to must start territory for most of the time. He should be on teams. He should be played. He's been good. And the most thing that's important, he's a volume machine. So
Mhm.
excuse me, where he's lacking in touchdowns, he's making up for in targets, which matters. Targets, volume, catches, etc. Kate Otten, we talked about, he's going to be solid for the whole year with Evans going out, although he is going into the bye now. The same thing with Harold Fannin. So you judge as it is if you want to go hard, quote unquote, to get a tight end who's going into a bye. So you judge your options as you have it. And Zach Ertz, we talk about this. So he did not have the best game, but it was Mariota. And we already told people you don't play Ertz when Mariota is in and McLaurin is in. But now Mariota is now Jaden Daniels should be back next week, and McLaurin might continue to miss games now because he left
Yeah,
the game last week. So if that's the
another
case,
quad issue. So
you play Zach Ertz then, right? If that's the case.
yeah, if that's the case, I mean, definitely.
Yeah. So hopefully Jaden Daniels makes it back in. They need a win against next week or this week against Seattle. It's gonna be although Seattle's coming off a bye, so I don't know. It's gonna be a tough game for them.
Yeah, they'll probably come back healthy. I mean, they should have their secondary back, so I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a tough game.
We should mention, man, a lot of the shine has fallen off of Debo from a fantasy production standpoint. So maybe he starts turning things around. Hopefully,
I
maybe
think he'll be fine.
With Daniels. Yeah.
I think he'll be fine.
All right. So that's probably so. If none of those guys are available, we got a few guys to mention and widely available here. Top on the list to me, it's not close. It's Theo Johnson, just from a sheer opportunity perspective here. So he had a bad game this past game, and Tommy's favorite thing, he's having basically a red light, green light. It's like every other game is a great game. But now with Cam Scatabo down, he pretty much could be even more vital to the offense than he
Yeah.
already is. What level of excitement do you have for him?
Well, right now he's tight end number 13 the past 3 weeks. But again, the big touchdown against the Broncos is what put him into that position. So he would have been pretty much in like
Yeah,
the
that's
top,
true.
around the 20s. But again, you can't take that away. You can't say if that didn't happen, whatever. That was a great play. That was a great thing that really bolstered his
He
fantasy
did make the
production.
play. That's right.
Yeah, again, he had to physically make that play. So, but again, I think he could be a nice streamer option, especially with Scadaboo being down, depending on what the situation is, what they do, if they make any moves, so on and so forth. Let me put it this way. Based on, and we didn't talk about this guy yet, but I do think that I probably would lean to play Jawan Johnson over Theo Johnson, to be honest. Based on the production that has been the past 2 weeks, Jawan Johnson is back on the target train. He's catching balls. And now, if Tyler Show is the quarterback, again, I think Olave still gets hyper targeted, but I think Jawan Johnson is back into that realm.
That's an interesting narrative. Yeah, I purposely didn't put Jawan Johnson
I
because
know. I know.
I was worried about that, but maybe you make me feel better about that. Okay. Okay.
I'm all good about you making you feel better after you put me down with Joe Mixon.
Man, I just remembered the torture that you put me through at the time, but
That's
you
fine.
can sport about it.
Just get over it.
I'm giving you credit for all the other things you deserve credit for. So
I appreciate that,
I
which is a lot over Joe Mixon.
so it's
Watch
so
Joe Mixon. Watch Joe
oh
Mixon
my
comes back.
God,
I'm gonna say this. Watch he comes back week 17, and we're like, ooh, all right, let's play him. And he puts up 3 touchdowns.
in week 17. Let me
Yeah,
see.
week 17, and we're in the Super Bowl in our high stakes league.
I'll say this. If the Texans can stay competitive, I think it's more likely that he comes back. So they better from first of all, we both have him on
I've
our
been
team.
saying that all year.
Well, they
So,
haven't been competitive until
well,
lately,
well, lately, and
right? So hopefully they
likely,
keep.
likely that's going to happen soon. I
Uh,
think.
well, we'll see.
Just like Isaiah likely should be picked up in
We'll
every single league.
we'll talk about it likely in a second. Let's just get through some of the other names, names that you might not like. But AJ Barner, who I know Tommy's not a fan of. So before the bye, he did have a bad game, but before that, he had been a top tight end for 3 straight weeks. And he's got a nice stretch now. I mean, Seattle's at Washington, home against Arizona. So given the landscape, I think you could do way worse than AJ Barner. I know you're not so big a fan of him, but you can't deny usage, and Darnold's been playing really well.
Yeah,
So
usage the past 3 weeks, including the bye. 6 targets for 4 receptions.
that was the bad game, but before that, it was still very good. Although I mean, I'm not saying I would rather
Oh,
have him than
very
Theo.
good. Tampa Bay. I mean, he had 7 for 753 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, again, that you're chasing touchdowns there. He's not chasing. You're not chasing the Boutte there. You're chasing the Barner, and I feel more comfortable about chasing the Boutte than Barner.
Listen, excuse me. Yeah, but I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'd still rather have Theo Johnson in any case. And, although I do want to talk a little about the next guy, Colson Loveland, who's widely available. So it wasn't the best game for him or really anybody else in Chicago this past week. But if Komet is out, he is definitely an option. I don't, and this is me not chasing the production. This is me chasing the opportunity. You got to remember, Ty Warren was not the number one overall tight end taken in this draft. It was Colson Loveland. So they are going to be interested in using him. And now Luther Burden might be out with a concussion. So the opportunity is there for him against
I'd
this.
rather start Mason Taylor than him.
You'd rather
Colson
start
Loveland.
Mason Taylor instead of Colson Loveland at Cincinnati.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to make the
Well,
case
again,
for?
Mason Taylor is out, because they have a bye this week. But I'd rather I'd
Yeah,
rather
like I was about to say, who they're not
rather
playing
take
me.
the zero than basically.
The negative points would help you on defense. No, Colson Loveland's a perfectly good option. Yeah. So any other names other than before we talk about our long shot here?
No, I just think that we should really discuss
Yeah,
Mr.
let's.
Likely.
All right. So Isaiah Likely, so he's again very widely available, but we should point out like the trade deadline is coming soon, and if Andrews is very high on the likely to be traded list, even and I think it's irrespective of whether or not Baltimore's winning or losing or whatever. If Andrews is traded, likely should be top 10 for the rest of the season, with Lamar coming back, them being competitive. My question to you, Tommy, is like, where do you draw the line on people like trying to keep him on the roster? Because it's hard just keeping a guy, with the shot in mind. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I don't
bye
think
weeks, etc.
I'm not really too worried about Mark Andrews being there as well too. So I think likely is the more durable, the more sustainable guy in that tight end room. So I think that he is the tight end A over Andrews being the tight end B, especially with Lamar Jackson coming back. that was really surprising him not playing last week. But obviously
That was
Snoop Hunt,
Harbaugh playing a little fast and loose
yeah,
with the rules there.
yeah, Huntley basically did a really good job. That offense did really well. Now, do I think that's going to happen this week against Miami on Thursday night? Maybe they kind of held him out because they wanted to give him a little bit more room to play on a Thursday night, and then now he has another kind of like bye week in a sense, with that extended, that period of time. So I could see him playing this Thursday, because of that extension, of an extra rest period. Um, again, if he's in there, which I believe he's going to be in there this week based on last week's redirection, real quick. Um, I do think that Isaiah Likely has a really, really good opportunity to produce.
Yeah. And at the very least, if people disagree with what you're saying, at the very least, you're going to get clarity within the next 10 days on this
Yeah,
Ravens tight end situation. The like we said, the trade deadline is November 9th, and it's coming right up. So you're gonna find out, like, if you could hold on to him for one more week, you're gonna find out early next week about how this is gonna go. So I don't I'm probably halfway with what Tommy's saying about like that he's still gonna have value even if Andrews is there or whatever game. But we're gonna find out one way or another. So we
yeah,
can so now's the time because if Andrews is traded, he's gonna go to like 50, 60, 70%. Everybody's gonna try to get him.
yeah.
Uh so there we go. That is tight ends. You ready to move on to streamers?
Let's do it.
Welcome to the A stream for all you lovely listeners streaming quarterback and or defense, where we will do our very best to hook you guys up with guys that you need to get into your lineup if you're streaming quarterback, if you're streaming defense, just like us. So let's start at the quarterback position with widely available guys, only widely available guys. That's all we talk about here. We'll just run through the names real quick. We got Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, and now JJ McCarthy. Of all these guys, who are you most excited for?
I mean, I do like Sam Darnold coming off the bye, but
Yep.
the highest value, there's two of them that I really feel really good about. The first one is Trevor Lawrence, and the other one is Tua. I'm crazy to say Tua right now. I feel like I'm crazy to say it, but
We
again,
might be walking into a landmine there. Yeah.
maybe. But again, it's a better matchup against Baltimore compared to the Atlanta matchup at Atlanta that he had last week. That offense looks like maybe they have a little bit more chemistry than people players are not showing up to players only meetings and stuff like that. Maybe they are showing up. It looks like the
I
offensive
love
line
that.
is actually blocking for Tua right now. So I think that is a good opportunity to plug them into a bye week. I mean, I know, if I throw this out there, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out there, right? So I got
Here we
Mayfield.
go.
I got Mayfield on bye. I'm not going to. I don't think he's a waiver ad, but I think he could be an ad after waivers clear kind of thing. And I would love to be able to start myself some Tua this upcoming week in a Thursday night game. Now, like I said, there I have a home league that somebody's gonna be listening to this and probably gonna try to snipe me. Now I won't say it's you, Billy. There's somebody that is that will do something like that. But again, they're going to drop value, so I'm going to make sure that I capitalize on that value that's dropped. But again,
Yeah,
two is definitely a direction I would like to go this week, based on the matchup. Trevor Lawrence has a good matchup
he
against
does.
Las Vegas. Which Trevor Lawrence are you going to get? That's the problem you got with two of those players
You're
right
so
there.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
so comfortability and more stability wise, I'd probably go Joe Flacco against
at home against Chicago.
Chicago.
Hmm.
But again, I think Joe Flacco is a little bit more heavily owned than those two players in really competitive leagues. That's the route I'd go on the deeper side.
Yeah, I mean, of all the names that we've named, I'm happy about four of them: Sam Darnold, Flacco, Lawrence, and Tua. I think I'm a little less on Tua because I'm just so petrified. Aaron Rodgers has been pretty good, but now he's home against Indianapolis. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, it's a tough
So I'm
matchup.
almost scared of that. And JJ McCarthy, his first game back at Detroit, that's a no for me. So I would say Sam Darnold to me is probably the best play on here at Washington. But like, yeah, but I agree with everything you said about the other guys. They're okay. the other
Yeah,
guys we
I'm not
mentioned.
playing JJ McCarthy. Detroit's defense is fairly good, and especially JJ McCarthy coming back because Carson Wentz is out for the rest of the season
Basically.
with the injury to his shoulder. I just don't, again, JJ McCarthy could come out guns blazing, which I'm a little surprised that they said he was out last week because of an ankle injury. But if you look back at the tape and you see Jefferson coming off of getting hit off to the sideline, and somehow JJ McCarthy just jumps over Justin Jefferson and is flexing his foot and he's moving around like nothing's wrong. Also, Quadzilla over there, look at that guy. He's like, he looks like Saquon Barkley in the quarterback position right now. But I just don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could chase week one's fourth quarter numbers because he hasn't done anything
Oh,
else
absolutely. And
from that.
we're not
So
chasing it at Detroit. No,
no.
that's not happening.
So yeah.
Let's talk about some defenses. So this is going to be a tough week for defenses because a lot of them are already like fairly widely owned. So here's the best ones. So the three teams I'm going to name are hovering between, let's say, 40 to 60% depending on league. So the Chargers, Packers, and Rams, they're all good at Tennessee, home against Carolina, and home against New Orleans. They're all good, but they might not be available in your league. But we'll just point it out because, 40 to 50, 60% ish, depending on like worth checking on that. So in an emergency, we've got two other names to give you. So Jacksonville, who's very widely available there at Las Vegas. Now, remember now, like sometimes Jacksonville's hit and miss, and now Vegas should Brock Bowers is going to be back, so
Hopefully.
maybe Vegas does a little bit better. Probably not, but maybe Bowers at least will have a better week. But Jacksonville's a good play, especially in this environment. And then we have one emergency play here, and this is basically Tommy just off of what the line is. So
So
I
so is this your Cincinnati Bengals play for from last week to this week is which is
listen.
the same division?
Listen, emergencies happen, but yeah. So the Baltimore Ravens, I will. This is basically just off of the line. The line, if you go look at it now on FanDuel, it's insinuating that the implied points total for the Dolphins is 21 points, which is among the lower end. And considering the environment that we're in, like not everybody can start just pick up random teams off of like they might not be available. I would say this is an emergency. I can't think of other teams that are widely available in an emergency that I would put in. So I just thought we'd identify that. I'm not saying it's better than the Chargers or the Packers, but they might not be available in your league. So, but there we go. That is the slate of stuff. This was a big episode. We covered a lot. We
Yeah.
wanted to hook you guys up here. So,
Yeah. And
any
I think Billy's sentiment about Joe Mixon that took 5 minutes really covered the show, but
it, it took a minute and a
I
half. It's
can't
fine.
wait. I can't wait till he comes back and then I get to go back and just do the same thing and then take the conversation from this show. But it's okay, time will tell.
I also thought it was a thing to plug our YouTube and be like, hey, go check out our live stream when we had the draft, etc. But there we go. Closing thoughts, all happiness, sir.
Yeah, again, we truly appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch our videos. If you could please like, subscribe to our channel. We are on multiple platforms. Like we discussed early in the show, we will be having a live TikTok show, which will be recorded for YouTube. And then Sunday, we'll be going live on all platforms, hopefully. Basically just it's depending on our Streamlabs situation. But I think that this week will be fine for our multi-platform live show on Sunday. Yeah, so ready to go.
Awesome. All right, everybody.